What if it was all just a fantasy? What if every success, every failure, every person I've met, loved, and lost this year? What if it was all just a dream? It's difficult to try and grasp the reality of the situation. We have once again found ourselves at the end of another tremendous year here on Earth. And if I'm being honest with you all, I have become at odds with how I'm supposed to feel. Doing these year in reviews has led me to look inwardly with my emotions. Not only that, but it has also allowed me to bookmark chapters of my life and measure where I currently am. When I was 17 years old, I began to annually summarize the events of the past year with an attitude of hope and a rejection of pessimism. Back then, it was easier to laugh at what I didn't understand, instead of trying to make sense of it all. Now, as a 22-year-old, I have begun to see the cracks within my wall of optimism. It's easier to say that this has been a hard year for me. I shouldn't forget about you, however, the viewer. It is most definite that, like me, the struggle with what you view as right and wrong has changed drastically within the past few years, as you grow to be more analytical in regards to your environments. In 2021, the world shifted and gravitated to an era of healing, serving as the next chapter following COVID-19's hold on the world in the year prior. 2021 saw a reset of astronomical proportions, a reset that has had a long road in successfully implementing. In some aspects, life after lockdown has served to be more difficult than actually undergoing the quarantine. Returning back to normal life has proven to be a long trek. 2021 was as complex as its 2020 counterpart, and has continued to pave the way for how the rest of the decade will play out. In its most basic sense, returning back to normal in the midst of a pandemic seems virtually impossible. Today, December 31st, we will chronicle through the significant events that shaped 2021. Not only that, but we will also recollect about ourselves, about where we were, how we're doing right now, and also where we're going. Ladies and gentlemen, and fellow historians, this was the year known as 2021. I'm a pretty boy. Let's get straight into the politics, shall we? By the end of 2020, President Donald Trump refused to concede the presidential election to Joe Biden. As the certification of the Electoral College vote on January 6th grew closer, there was no telling on what was going to happen. Personally, I just thought that throughout all the protests, nothing much else would occur, and Biden would be instated as president without much trouble. Oh, how wrong I was. On January 3rd, in an effort to try and swing the election closer to his court, Trump called up Georgia's Secretary of State, requesting the secretary to find enough votes to flip the state over to his column, just in time for the certification. To Republicans and Democrats in the Senate, they had more pressing matters to attend to. Not only were they dealing with the coronavirus's peak in infectious cases, but they were also fighting for the soul of the Senate chamber. During the 2020 election, both parties had failed to win an outright majority in the Senate, with all eyes looking towards Georgia as the decider. If Democrats were to lose the Senate, it would be a huge blow to the incoming Joe Biden administration. In the online world, politics was of little importance, and in place, a grooming allegation was at the forefront. On January 4th, YouTuber Call Me Carson was accused by his former associates of sexting underage fans while he was 19, and the victims were 17 and 16, respectively. Soon after, other ex-friends of Call Me Carson outed him, with one even reporting the information to federal law enforcement. Debate would ensue whether or not this was really a big deal or not, due to the close age gap, and Call Me Carson would go missing for a large majority of the year. Back to politics, both Republicans and Democrats were campaigning hard in the Peach State, but by Election Day, January 5th, Democrats were able to take a win and take control of the Senate. You know, maybe Republicans would have had a better shot if it wasn't for the fact that Trump was spouting that the election was rigged the entire time, possibly to turn Republican voters from even turning out. But hey, that's one political amateur's opinion, what do I know? With the Call Me Carson and Georgia news being back-to-back, the year was off to an interesting start, but less than a week into 2021, the year was about to pop off.
Hey Lester, yeah, you can see what's happening right in front of us. We saw Capitol Police trying to push people back, hold them back.
Can I speak to Pelosi? Yeah, we're coming, bitch! Oh, hi, bitch! We're coming for you too, you fucking traitor!
On the morning of January 6, 2021, I was browsing Twitter and checking out a news channel on YouTube live streaming the protests at the Capitol. While watching, I noticed that the protesters were getting oddly close to the Capitol. So close that I thought to myself, hey, are they going to break in? And you know, I was right on the money, because they swamped their way through in an effort to keep the Donald in office for another 4 years. The season finale of the Trump presidency had been reached. A week prior to the insurrection, Trump had called Mike Pence. As per the Constitution, the vice president presides over the Electoral College count in Congress. Trump had hoped that Mike Pence would somehow be able to delay the certification, or even single-handedly give Trump a second term by flipping the results. Trump even told Pence, and I quote, "You can be a patriot or you can be a pussy." Prior to the breaching, Trump was firing up the protesters, exclaiming to them to head to the US Capitol and protest. As soon as they broke into the Capitol Rotunda, the protest became a riot, with politicians within the building cowering in fear. Many iconic scenes were taken, including someone putting their shoes on top of Nancy Pelosi's desk, and people making poses in the chamber. Crowds were shouting to hang Mike Pence, and within all the chaos, one person was shot and killed. As a result of the Capitol riot, nearly 10 people died, with 4 police officers committing suicide in the months following the riot. Both Republicans and Democrats blasted Trump's response, with the president eventually releasing a video the same day telling the rioters to go home, but also refusing to concede an election he still saw as stolen. Trump's delay in sending in the National Guard to quell the mob was deeply unpopular. After it was all done, Congress met, determining that Trump should face consequences, with impeachment proceedings beginning on January 12th. Nancy Pelosi gave Pence and the Trump cabinet an ultimatum, demanding the VP to invoke the 25th Amendment, which would remove Trump as president, to which Pence did not budge, or face impeachment proceedings. Trump became the first US president to be impeached twice, which led to this totally epic meme of Trump being a peach. How hilarious. You know, January was a busy month. I mean, we had Trump getting banned off of Twitter, PogChamp being removed from Twitch, and within the same week, we had this shitty Grubhub ad being perpetuated as the first big meme of the year. I have never ordered from Grubhub, and because of this ad, I never will. Around the same time, GTA 5, which was released back in 2013, was trending once again, with the intro scene of Lamar roasting Franklin striking a chord with people online, becoming another sick meme. In the celebrity world, musician Kanye West began his year with a rocky setback. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West had announced they were seeking separation, a long divorce process that would hit the musician hard as the year progressed, with Kanye trying to win back Kim's heart throughout it all. Speaking of Kanye, a rumor started to circulate that West had allegedly been hooking up with a male beauty guru, with people believing it was Jeffree Star. Now imagine that as a power couple. On January 20th, Joseph R. Biden became the 46th president of the United States. Alongside Biden swearing in, Kamala Harris became the first woman vice president. A momentous occasion which was overshadowed by the Bernie Sanders meme of him wearing mittens at the inauguration. To be honest, I thought it was a pretty underwhelming ceremony, but that's probably because at this point, I was so used to the unorthodox after witnessing a reality TV host take the oath of office 4 years prior. On day 1, President Joe Biden had the United States rejoin the Paris Climate Accords, abolished Trump's Muslim ban, revoked the permit for the Keystone Pipeline, and also set up a COVID office that reported directly to Biden. As Biden had campaigned on, his #1 goal was to get the coronavirus under control via an immense rollout of the vaccine. The coming year would prove to be difficult in vaccinating all Americans, as not every American would vow to receive the vaccine. Some rejected it due to personal or religious reasons, where others rejected the vaccine due to political leanings, and at times by conspiracy-driven points. The number of COVID cases exceeded over 100 million worldwide. Despite this dismal number, eyes were focused on the stock market instead. Enter r/Wall Street Bets, who learned that they can use their collective power to manipulate the stock market and raise stocks that were originally viewed as trash, such as GameStop and AMC, all the way to the top. I remember a bunch of old Wall Street shitheads getting pissed about all these Redditors manipulating the stock market, and honestly, it was pretty funny to see them cry, especially since a lot of these guys had been toying with the stock market for decades. To me, it was finally the people's turn to throw a dent into the corrupt system and use it to their own advantage. The Redditors were squeezing the short sellers and giving them a taste of their own medicine. The GME surge was real, but it eventually fizzled out as the year went on, with a couple spikes every now and then. The message was about more than making money. It was really about sticking it to the financial establishment that had caused the 2008 financial collapse, and to me, that was a brilliant way to kick off a hectic year. To cap it all off, and notable to me, at the end of January, Weezer released OK Human, and it was actually very good. Created under the cloud of a pandemic, The record told of an aging Rivers Cuomo, dealing with the stresses of growing older. Instrumentally, it was catchy and the most lyrically dense Weezer album in a long time. I know it's been less than a year since the album was released, but seriously, listening to it gives me a lot of nostalgia. In some strange way, it returns me to a period of innocence before the rest of 2021 came to transform my future. Since culture was really at a standstill in the year prior due to the pandemic, there would be an avalanche of new entertainment to be released in the coming months. Let me get personal with you guys. At the very start of the year, I was feeling pretty blue with the progress of my YouTube channel. From the time period of 2019 to 2020, I felt as if I was fumbling in growth. In fact, I was thinking about completely giving up on YouTube at the beginning of the year. I just didn't think I was going to make it. After the release of 2 iceberg videos, my channel was put back on the map, gaining 4,000 subscribers just alone in the month of January, completely wiping out my total 4,000 gained within the entire year of 2020. I already knew at the start that this would be a busy and transformative year for me.
We got a #1 victory royale.
Anyways, let's talk about Fortnite. Around the same time, a hot new song trend was hitting the ears of millions around the world. Chug Jug, a parody of the song American Boy, played a tribute to Fortnite. It was definitely epic. In early February, the rapper behind Watch Me Whip and Nene was charged with murder. I have nothing else to add, but seeing this as a headline is bizarre to me. On February 7th, the Super Bowl took place in Tampa, Florida, with the Tampa Buccaneers taking the ring and Tom Brady once again being MVP, with an awesome Meat Canyon cartoon being released alongside of it.
Tom, what are you going to do now with yet another Super Bowl win under your belt?
I'm going to spend time with my family. That's what I'm going to do.
The halftime show was of note as well, as The Weeknd offered a fairly good performance that became a meme on Twitter for a couple days. On February 13th, Donald Trump was acquitted by the Senate under his second impeachment trial via 57 to 43 votes. This meant that Trump would not be restricted from running for political office once again in the future. And just between you and me, I'm pretty sure he's going to remain in the background of the nation's consciousness until at least the end of 2024. February was marked with a harsh and deadly winter. In Texas, a historic freeze killed up to 210 people across the state. Texas's energy grid had collapsed, leading to power outages, and little to no running water. I remember seeing various photos of the snowstorm. Things got incredibly cold. In fact, the deep freeze became so treacherous that when it came to the nation's highways, accidents were more prone to occur. On February 10th, a 100-car pileup occurred due to the mass icy roads that led to the deaths of 5 people. My heart goes out to Texas and the hundreds who had to suffer through this terrible storm. On the other hand, the senator from Texas known as Ted Cruz seemed to have more pressing matters to attend to, rather than, actually being there for his own state in their time of need. Ted Cruz and his wife had booked a flight to Cancun, Mexico, to get away from the power crisis back home. After Cruz faced nothing but backlash for heading to Mexico, he second-guessed his decision and returned back to Texas to political scrutiny. He later told reporters that he flew to Mexico in the first place because his daughters had asked him to take the trip over there, and that he was trying to be a, quote, good dad. Very epic, Ted Cruz, leaving your constituents to literally freeze to death back home, while you were able to freely travel south of the border at the cost of virtually nothing but any shred of dignity you had left. After an entire year of delays, Marvel kicked off their big year with the release of WandaVision on Disney+, taking place after the events of Marvel's Endgame. I think it started out pretty decently. It then became kind of whatever, after the twists of the show were slowly revealed. I remember the show being a big hit for a month, and then everybody forgetting about it around a week later. On February 17th, conservative talk show host Rush Limbaugh died at the age of 70, a pioneer to conservative broadcasting. This may be inappropriate, but I'll always remember him for being in that one episode of Family Guy that the YouTuber Ellis Mark really despises. Hey, what can I say, the Republican Town song is really catchy. Wow, what a legacy to leave behind. On February 22nd, famed musician duo Daft Punk announced that they would no longer be making music together. Daft Punk was a part of my childhood, so this was pretty big. Despite being somewhat bummed out that there's no longer going to be any more new music from them, I'm satisfied in knowing that their discography will forever be etched as one of the most impressive lists of all time. Seriously, Discovery is amazing, and even the soundtrack they did for the movie Tron Legacy is incredible as well. Somehow I'm paying more tribute to Daft Punk than I am Rush Limbaugh. Huh, would you look at that? In February, the game Little Nightmares 2 came out. I've gotten busier within the past couple years, so I don't really find myself playing video games as often as I used to, but holy shit, You should really check out both Little Nightmares 1 and 2, as they're incredible puzzle platformers that combine horror and adventure game elements. Like, really, Little Nightmares 2 may be my second favorite game I've played this year, only beaten by another title that I'll get to later. By the end of February, Biden had ordered a pair of airstrikes in Syria, retaliating against Iran-backed militias that shot 4 rocket attacks on US targets in Iraq. Once again, I saw people on Twitter spouting that this was going to be World War III. Yep, it wasn't. Alright, let's get to March. At the beginning of March, 6 Dr. Seuss books ceased publication due to racist and insensitive imagery, according to Dr. Seuss Enterprises. This led to another debate between ideological lines about cancel culture, and this would be a frequent theme throughout the year when it came to various forms of entertainment. On the 6th, Arizona Senator Kristen Sinema shot down Bernie Sanders' proposed minimum wage increase as a part of the $1.9 trillion stimulus bill, with a very flashy thumbs down. Joe Biden responded with kind of just like an oh well, and he kind of just continued on, despite this being a blunder to one of his major campaign promises. In early March, the YouTuber John Swan caught himself rumbling with the famous Minecraft star Dream. It was revealed that John Swan had been impersonating Dream, sending offensive DMs to a fan under his name. Swan had built up lie after lie to get many in the commentary community on his side, stating that he had never impersonated Dream, but it all eventually came crumbling down once the truth was revealed. The craziest thing about this entire situation is that John Swan was the one who really blew it up. Following the event, Swan would retreat from the internet for months. On March 7th, Oprah Winfrey conducted an interview with Prince Harry and Meghan, spurring royal family drama, to which Meghan admitted that she was made suicidal due to racist treatment occurring in the palace. Queen Elizabeth would later respond stating concern over Meghan's comments, and that this matter would be dealt with privately. Prince William would come out and state, and I quote, that the royal family is very much not a racist family. Holy shit, what the hell. On March 8th, the Burger King Twitter account tweeted out this, quote, women belong in the kitchen. Holy shit, what the hell. By mid-March, Among Us was having another viral moment on the internet, with terms such as sus and vent memes becoming prominent. Alongside the trend was this remix of the game's theme. This included imposters gaining what the kids were calling drip. Holy shit, what the hell. I mean, it was kind of epic, but another meme that hit the internet was The Baby, in which the rapper was turned into a car. Yeah, that certainly was an experience, alright. Mid-March marked 1 year since the pandemic took the world by storm. During this time, anti-Asian sentiment had sprung up across the nation. Many believed that this led to a shooting spree that occurred on March 16th, 2021, at 3 spas and massage parlors in the state of Georgia, in which 8 people were killed, 6 of them being Asian women. The perpetrator said he was motivated by sexual addiction. Despite not being charged with a hate crime, people began to characterize the shootings as a result of rising anti-Asian hatred. After the shootings, mass protests against Asian hatred sprang up all across the United States. On March 19th, Kamala Harris almost became president. I'm talking about how Joe Biden tripped 3 times on the way to board Air Force One. Now if he had tripped and fallen backwards, let's just say it would not have been a good day to be Joe Biden. A day prior, Biden called Vladimir Putin a killer in an ABC News interview. Putin responded with, "It takes one to know one." The Putin and Biden tension would come back at the end of the year. On March 22nd, a shooting in Boulder, Colorado occurred, which intensified the gun debate once again. 10 people were killed, with Biden calling for an immediate ban on all assault weapons. However, to no avail by Congress. On March 23rd, a giant ship blocked the historic Suez Canal. The obstruction lasted until the 29th of March, and prevented other ships from bypassing it, affecting trade between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. How does this happen? I just remember a bunch of memes stemming from this. This was definitely an incredible cultural moment of the year. By March 25th, the total number of vaccinations administered in the world reached over 500 million, with Biden announcing a new goal of 200 million vaccinations in the United States by the end of his first 100 days in office. In order to get Americans through the virus, the government finally sent out $1,400 checks to every American, which, didn't really do much to quell all the bills and financial troubles Americans were facing during the pandemic, but my friend Evan did end up buying a giant Lego Imperial Star Destroyer with the money, so there's that, I guess. In the same month, YouTuber David Dobrik found himself in hot water, after a woman under the pseudonym Hannah came forward and stated that members of Dobrik's group had forced her to engage in sexual activity, to which Dobrik Dorbrick was complicit in letting happen. Dorbrick was then subsequently dropped by sponsors of all sorts. He later made an apology video about the incident, and then took a brief break, and has returned to millions of views per video. Although the drama was not enough to take him down completely, its impact was nestled within the YouTube community, and has affected his reputation. To cap off the month, Tom Hanks' son, Chet Hanks, teased the upcoming summer season by advertising that White Boy Summer was on the horizon.
Hey guys, look, I just wanted to tap in really quick. I just got this feeling, man, that this summer is, it's about to be a white boy summer.
Honestly, as a Hispanic myself, I'm not even offended. This shit was hilarious to me. In early April, Lil Nas X's Montereau had entered the Billboard Top 100. The music video that accompanied the song had him grinding against the devil, which was actually pretty funny. To promote the music video, Lil Nas X began to sell a Nike Satan shoe, in which only 666 were made. Traditionalists began to criticize Lil Nas X for glorifying Satan, to which I just thought the entire thing was funny. It's fucking Lil Nas X grinding against the devil. However, Nike would later sue Lil Nas X over the Satan shoes, as they were never officially involved in the process of developing the shoes. Damn. At the beginning of the month, Russia warned NATO not to send any troops along the border of Ukraine, with the fear of Putin invading Ukraine rising in the coming months. By April, the game Friday Night Funkin' had taken over the internet, with plenty of fan mods and animations being attributed to it. The game got so popular that a Kickstarter was made by the creators to create a fully fledged project. The Kickstarter got over $2 million and over 58,000 backers, an incredible haul to say the least. I'm not too great at the game, but I'm still excited for whatever comes next. 2021 was another big year for TikTok. All of a sudden, my friends who swore they would never get the app eventually caved in and downloaded it, and started sending me these trendy memes. Not only that, but even my dad downloaded the app. Seeing him laugh at random TikTok sounds is definitely something new. A famous TikTok sound that I would hear every now and then when I was out and about was the sheesh one. There are so many sounds and memes that got famous on the app, it'd be so tiresome trying to explain them all. A notable one was the Castaway meme, which took the song from the Backyardians and implemented it in artistic ways. On April 9th, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, died at the age of 99, and you know the internet. They started spouting memes about it the second the news dropped. Honestly, I forgot that he even died, and I was only reminded like a month later because the shitty HBO Max show The Prince was delayed because of his death. By the way, I watched a few episodes of that show, and holy shit, it was pretty bad. Big surprise, I know. On the same day, rapper DMX passed away. Famous for a long music career that influenced the trajectory of hip-hop, he will be missed. On April 11th, Dante Wright was fatally shot and killed by Kimberly Potter at a traffic stop in an attempted arrest. Potter stated that she had meant to use her taser instead of her gun, and allegedly accidentally shot and killed Wright, leading to an uproar across the nation about the incident. I keep thinking about this. How do you accidentally use a gun instead of a taser? Come on, we're better than this. On April 20th, Derek Chauvin was convicted in the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. He was sentenced to 22.5 years in prison, and to many, justice was finally served. On April 21st, EDP445, famous for his known YouTube reactions, was found to be exchanging sexually explicit messages with a fake 13-year-old girl, created to lure EDP into meeting in real life and exposing him for being a predator. He had planned to meet with an underage girl and do who knows what. I don't even have to say it, but I will. You are fucking disgusting, EDP. On April 28th, Joe Biden made a major speech at a joint session of Congress, advertising that the government should spend more on helping out the typical American. Unfortunately for Biden, one Democrat in the Senate by the name of Joe Manchin would spill hell for his agenda, declaring that he wasn't one for a major stimulus bill due to rising inflation and gas prices under the Biden administration. Oh, Joe Manchin. We'll get to him later, but first, I want to have a word with you guys about the end of April. I've thought about whether or not I should include this in the video, but I think it's better to talk about it than, never talk about it. At the end of April, I lost something important to me. Something I wish I was able to cherish more when I had it, and for the first time in my life, I felt really true grief. I've been told by other content creators to not be too vulnerable online, but at this instance I can't really help it. In the midst of all the news that was going on and trying to create enough content to keep my audience coming for more, I almost really broke entirely. In May, I tried to release upload after upload to keep myself busy, but by the end of the month, I finally succumbed to my emotions and took time to really dwell on the pain. I don't really know what I'm trying to get at here. At this point, I'm going off the script. I just thought that since this year in review is also the story of how I'm feeling or how I was feeling this year, I guess I should be honest with you guys that the end of April and May was a really tough time for me. And with that, let's get to May. By early May, Amazon had been streaming a show titled Invincible, and holy shit was it good. Seriously, it's one of my favorite things to come out this year, with an all-star cast featuring the likes of J.K. Simmons, who does a terrifying but incredible job as Omni-Man. It's certainly extraordinary. It's bloody and bold, and shakes up the superhero genre, with a story that constantly twists and turns. In May, everybody's totally favorite power couple, Bill and Melinda Gates, announced they were getting a divorce, with reports stating that Melinda had been in contact with attorneys since 2019, following the revelation of Bill Gates' ties with Jeffrey Epstein. You know, the convicted sex offender? I don't know, Bill, it seems a little weird that you hung out with this guy a lot, especially only a few years after his first conviction. Seems a little bizarre to me, dude. To feed Bill Gates' broken heart, a singer by the name of Olivia Rodrigo released an album titled Sour, that explores the themes of a breakup. Honestly, guys, I thought it was pretty good. It's basically teenage angst amplified to the max. And the single Good For You, accompanied by its music videos, was a song I would often find myself revisiting. Another great track off the album that I really enjoyed was the opener, Brutal, with its Paramore type of production. A peak 2021 moment was when Rodrigo was invited to the White House to pose with Joe Biden in the Oval Office. Rodrigo would later state that Biden gave her a shoehorn and some M&Ms when she came to visit. Yeah, that seems like a Biden move, alright. I remember that during this month he was asked about Republicans stalling the Democratic agenda, and he just replied with eating ice cream.
Mr. President, what did you order?
Chocolate chip.
Oh, yeah. Chocolate chip. What is your message to Republicans who are prepared to block the January 6th commission?
Eat some chocolate chip.
May was a busy month for albums, with Van Weezer releasing just in time for the upcoming Hella Mega Tour that summer. And the album was alright. I like the song One More Hit off of it, with one of the lyrics literally stating, "Pump it up into me, please daddy, please daddy." Rivers, what the hell is going on? Another album that piqued my interest this month was 21 Pilots' Scaled and Icy, a record I thought was decent at best, but has slowly grown on me. My favorite track off of it is The Outside. However, I just wanted to state this, that though I thought Scaled and Icy was alright, I somehow found myself in a situation in which I saw 21 Pilots perform live a total of 4 times within the time span of a year. All of it happening in 2021. Yeah, I guess you can say I'm a pretty big fan of Stressed Out. On May 8th, Tesla chief executive Elon Musk hosted Saturday Night Live just in time for the Dogecoin craze, which was another Wall Street Bets meme that exploded, with the subreddit betting on this meme cryptocurrency. Instead of Elon Musk putting in a good name for Dogecoin, he instead dressed up as Wario and starred in one of the unfunniest skits of all time. In May, the game Resident Evil 8 came out, and most people really remember it because of this chick, but I hear the actual game was actually pretty good. On May 12th, Boogie2988 was booked into a Washington County jail and faced aggravated assault charges after waving a gun at Frank Castle, who showed up to his residence last year. He eventually bonded out of jail, but seeing this image of him was a weird way to start off my morning the day this broke out. I don't know what the hell happened, but the hip slang of May 2021 included the term sussy baka. It got so popular, at one point someone commissioned Dean Norris, the guy who played Hank in Breaking Bad, to say the term.
Well, I don't know, man. You've been seeming sus lately. It's almost like we have an imposter among us. You sussy baka.
By mid-May, many states and locations across the globe were reopening. People were traveling once again, attending concerts, or even going to theme parks. Disneyland reopened again at the end of April, and I ended up buying an annual pass for myself since I'm a Southern California resident. For the first time, I rode the Star Wars Rise of the Resistance ride, and it was awesome. One of my favorite rides at Disney, probably like my second favorite one, with only Space Mountain topping it. I know, but Zeeb, you can't see anything at all in that ride. Listen, I like the flashing colors at the start, and the awesome music that plays as you're swinging around in the coaster in pitch blackness. In 2021, Disney's California Adventure opened up a new themed area titled Avengers Campus, based off of the MCU. I have to be honest, Avengers Campus is boring with not many things to do. Eventually they added the Spider-Man ride to the area, and I ended up going on it for the first time with my friends, and holy shit, it sucked so bad. The ride makes you swing your arms like Spider-Man casting out webs, but it's so awkward and rapid that I literally feel like I'm flailing my arms like an idiotic, wacky inflatable tube man. I know, I'm ranting about something that doesn't really correlate to the year and is really like incredibly insignificant, but I just needed to get this out of my head because god, it was such utter abysmal ass. Do you guys remember Adrian's kickback? Yeah, it was that fleeting viral moment on TikTok in which a random 17-year-old kid by the name of Adrian invited the entirety of the internet to come to his birthday party in Huntington Beach, California, leading to complete chaos to consume the city, with fights and riots breaking out. Jesus, Adrian, did you at least have a good birthday party? By the end of May, the movie Cruella came out on Disney+, continuing Disney's streak of live-action films based on previous Disney villains. As far as I know, it sucked, and according to the film, Cruella's origin story stems from Dalmatians killing her mother. How epic. In May, Israel and Palestine found themselves within a crisis. There's no real way for me to explain the crisis in such a concise manner, but I'll try my best, so bear with me. Essentially, several Palestinian families were being ejected from a neighborhood in East Jerusalem. Several Palestinians protested this order, demanding to end forcible displacement from Israel. Violence spurred within the protests, with Israeli police resorting to stun grenades and rubber bullets to quell the protests. In response, Palestinian militant groups striked hundreds of rockets into Israel territory, with Israel responding with airstrikes as well. On May 21st, a ceasefire was agreed upon between both parties, but the damage had already been done. Over 250 Palestinians had been killed, with 13 Israelis dead in total as well after 11 days of fighting. This is not, and will not be the last time a fight between Israel and Palestine will ensue. The world has moved on since this incident, but I want you guys to remember this, because this type of carnage will not stop unless a real solution to the problem is created.
Trying to be funny and stuck in a room.
At the end of May, comedian Bo Burnham released his Netflix special titled Inside. It was released at the perfect time, during a time in my life in which I shared frequent bleak thoughts. Inside explores Bo Burnham's thought process during the COVID pandemic. Not only that, but it explores 21st century issues and the troubles with growing deeper into adulthood. A song that really hit me from this special was Look Who's Inside Again, a piece about anxiety and dealing with a world that is continuously disassociating from you. Its message is about depression and your mind playing tricks. At one moment you thought you were all confident and extroverted and this big success, and the very next day you feel like a complete failure and an outsider in a world full of triumphant stories. A brilliant special. I don't know how I would have gotten through my depressive state without this incredible story. For a moment, I felt understood.
Well, look who's inside again.
At the start of June, Samsung revealed their new virtual assistant, to which many people online began to simp and draw explicit art of her. Keep it classy, guys. On June 6, Logan Paul faced off against heavyweight Floyd Mayweather. The YouTuber had come a long way from his Vine days, now competing against a 5-division world champion in the sport of boxing. Can we talk about how Logan Paul came back? No matter how you feel about him, it's impressive to me that the Suicide Force thing didn't just completely end his career. I guess one's career ending is really dependent on how the subject rebounds from their darkest depths. The fight ended in a draw, with no winner being announced. If anything, I believe Logan Paul won at the end of the day, as this type of exposure is sure to springboard his fighting career. On June 8th, Minecraft YouTuber Dream released the greatest music video of the year. That's right, I'm talking about The Mask. I have to be honest with you guys, I don't hate Dream, like at all, but this song, I know, this isn't a hot take, but it's not that great, and the music video itself is pretty bad. I especially really like this shot of the kid crying. By June, it was declassified to the general public that UFOs were real. According to the Pentagon, however, this does not confirm that aliens are real. Seriously, I thought the confirmation of UFOs would be bigger news, but it got meshed up with news with Logan Paul and Dream's shitty song. In mid-June, gaming's biggest expo known as E3 took place, and it was... whatever. It was okay. They revealed a new Metroid game, so that was cool. On June 23rd, former presidential candidate and millionaire John McAfee was found dead in Spain via road suicide by hanging. McAfee's wife went on to state that she didn't believe John committed suicide. Let me just say something about John. This guy had a fucking crazy life. This short segment on him would not do it justice, but I highly recommend watching my friend Oki's video on him. Several times before John's death, he said that if he were ever to be found dead by hanging, it would be because he was actually murdered. On June 24th, a condominium in Surfside, Florida collapsed, killing 98 people. The structural support of the building had been eroded after years of corrosion. A terrible incident. My heart goes out to the families affected by this tragedy. On June 25th, the blockbuster season got kicked off with the release of Fast and the Furious 9. For over a year, theaters were struggling to open up, and were yearning for a big hit to put them back on the map. A couple months prior, a warm-up to the blockbuster season was Godzilla vs. Kong, which was actually fairly entertaining. Would I say it was good? Probably not. But Godzilla won, and that's all that matters to me. The release of F9 was an event in itself for me. Earlier in the year, my friend Ian and I marathoned all the Fast and the Furious movies within the time span of 48 hours. I loved every single one of them. When it came to F9's release, you know I had to get a suit for the event. It was that big of a deal. While promotion for the movie was going on, John Cena made a mistake that the Chinese government did not take too kindly to. John Cena had called Taiwan a country, which opposed China's viewpoint that Taiwan is actually an illegitimate breakaway province. John Cena later apologized indirectly. My friend Ghost Gun made a great video about it. I'd highly recommend checking it out later. By June 25th, Tyler the Creator released his record titled Call Me If You Get Lost. A record about traveling. Its deeper lyrical themes involve being in love with someone who's already in a relationship with someone else, and them feeling the same way about you and you guys just not knowing what to do. Yeah, that's how things get complicated. I thought it was pretty good, although I thought his Project Igor was more ambitious and tighter thematically. On June 30th, a Pennsylvania court overturned Bill Cosby's sexual assault conviction, and he was immediately released from prison. What the hell? I guess on the plus side, Britney Spears was able to successfully end her father's court-ordered conservatorship, which she stated was basically abuse, and prevented her from living her full life. So good for her, but her dad's an asshole, who's requesting her to pay legal fees now. Screw this guy. June was probably the weirdest month of the year due to the news stories. I mean, things like John Cena apologizing to the Chinese government and Dream's music video. It really kicked off the summer right. Excuse me, it really kicked off the white boy summer right. My apologies, Chet Hanks. On July 1st, 2021, President Xi Jinping marked the Chinese Communist Party's 100th anniversary with celebrations at Tiananmen Square. This was a big year for China, and another big year for the news media to perpetuate us combating China and trying to force us into a war with them. Hey, come on guys, don't you know that we might be heading to war with Russia? They've been waiting their turn since the end of World War II, be considerate. Joking aside, this is truly horrifying. In early July, a video of this guy on TikTok came out. What the fuck? Why did this trend?
There is no such thing as a coincidence. The fact that you're watching this video means you are energetically aligned with me and this message. Your thoughts create your reality. But you already knew that, yet you still live a life that you dread.
Excuse me.
Back over in jolly old England, Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced on July 5th that he would scrap all COVID-19 restrictions, becoming the least restricted country in Europe, with leaders around the world suggesting that the virus was beginning to be in the rearview mirror. By July, singer Doja Cat's song titled Kiss Me More had become a hit on the Billboard charts. Personally, I thought it was a sweet and catchy summertime tune about sex. Her album that was also released alongside the single was decent as well. Also in July, Billie Eilish released her second studio album, Happier Than Ever, a record once again about a breakup and toxic relationship. Man, what's with this year in breakups and divorces? Was everyone just going through it? I really loved this album. I think it really improves Billie's craft as a musician, and her brother's production style has only gotten better. A record about self-reflection over past hardships and getting older, its themes really hit me hard. The song titled Happier Than Ever is my favorite track off the record. The way the second half of the song builds up with its powerful guitars, God, it just gives me pure chills. In early July, a hot trend on Twitter emerged involving the Shroom Jack. All you need to know is that this was so much of a big deal that I had to put it in the video. On July 11th, a series of protests began in Cuba against the Communist Party, caused by a shortage of food and medicine, and countless decades of authoritarianism. The result was a crackdown by the Cuban military, and the US responded with even more sanctions against the country. On July 12th, famous Nickelodeon star Drake Bell received probation on a child endangerment charge relating to a then 15-year-old girl in which he engaged with sexually. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. On July 16th, Space Jam 2 came out and it kind of sucked. It was just a hodgepodge of a lot of things that felt like an incoherent mess. At least we did get this sick TikTok trend in which people bought a LeBron James toy and filled it up like a water balloon. That was pretty cool. On July 20th, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos decided that he wanted to go to space because he could. All aboard a rocket by his company Blue Origin, a rocket that many people have pointed out looks like a penis. On this day, I looked at Twitter and saw a tweet about the Challenger, and I unironically thought for a moment that Jeff Bezos' ship exploded and he died. A couple months later, Bezos would bring William Shatner with him on his rocket, and following the orbit, Shatner began to express to Bezos exactly how life-changing the trip was for him. Bezos seemed pretty uninterested regarding Shatner's monologue, so he proceeded to interrupt Shatner and spray champagne everywhere. I am being 100% serious. It was hilarious.
Give me a champagne bottle. Come here, I want to hear this. Here. You want a little of this? Hey.
Following a 2-year investigation, a suit was filed against Activision Blizzard that reported rampant sexual harassment and employment discrimination in the workplace, with inappropriate behavior soliciting frat boy culture. The report restructured Blizzard's management. Absolutely terrible. The summer of 2021 also offered a record-breaking heat wave in the western United States, resulting in the highest temperatures ever recorded in the region. Over 1,400 people died because of it, also sparking numerous wildfires. Climate change is real, guys, and it's killing us. On the brighter side, the 2021 Tokyo Olympics finally took place after being delayed a full year due to the pandemic. I mean, overall, the Olympics went fine for the most part, but some controversy was still fired up, with one organizer being fired for a Holocaust joke, and a composer for the games being outed for beating a classmate with Down syndrome and forcing them to strip naked and masturbate in front of them during their time in high school. You're absolutely despicable for doing that, dude. On July 28th, Bob Odenkirk, famous for his role as Saul Goodman, collapsed on set while filming the final season of Better Call Saul. Thankfully, he ended up okay, and personally, I'm beyond ecstatic for the final season of the show. And knowing Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould, I have the absolute confidence that they're going to stick the landing for the end of the Breaking Bad universe. Overall, July was a busy month, and by the end of it all, I was curious how the rest of the year would turn out. When I woke up the next day, my drowsy head was quickly awoken to the news of the one and only Christine Chan, formerly known as Chris Chan. August 2021 will be known as the month Christine Chan became mainstream. Essentially, a leaked call displayed Christine Chandler admitting that she was taking advantage of her dementia-ridden mother and having sex with her. What the fuck? This news story got so big that even Tucker Carlson covered it on his show, leading to boomers everywhere learning about the terrible tale of Christine. In August, the song Airplanes by B.O.B. started to trend because of this meme starring Mordecai and Twilight Sparkle. Truly a cultural zenith shared between us all. On August 10th, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo resigned amid a huge sexual harassment scandal. Originally saluted at the beginning of 2020 for his COVID response, the second half of 2021 marked him leaving office in disgrace. I guess he won't be running for president in 2024 like many on the media wanted him to. On August 13th, the movie Free Guy was released. To be honest, I never watched it, but I remember Disney marketing the shit out of this movie, once again reinforcing the idea that movie theaters were open again, and that films could still perform well even under the essence of a pandemic. In August, the Delta variant of the COVID crisis began to rise in infectious cases, with medical professionals urging many to go out and get vaccinated. Damn, another version of COVID. You gotta be kidding me. I sure hope there isn't another even more infectious version that presents itself later this year. In late August, OnlyFans stated they were going to ban any sexually explicit content on the site. They then later reversed their decision after a massive backlash. Personally, I just think this would have been a really bad business decision, coming from a site that really rose to prominence due to its porn. By the end of August, Call Me Carson returned to Twitch after over 6 months on hiatus, returning to a warm response. Unfortunately, due to the timing of the allegations, I will always associate Call Me Carson with the storming of the Capitol because both the news stories were so close together. What I'm trying to say is that it's Carson's fault for the Capitol break-in. On August 27th, after over a year of hype, Kanye West's Donda dropped. The past month was a build-up of Kanye West hosting listening parties for an album that continuously changed. Things got so excessive at the listening parties that this even happened. Donda was great. Of course, it's nowhere near my favorite Ye project, but tracks such as Jail, Off the Grid, or even Come to Life were incredible. Let me just state that this album came out without Kanye's permission. Yeah, his label released it without his approval. Eventually, he remixed and touched up a couple songs off the record, and released a deluxe version. The album itself is really long, and I don't blame people who weren't able to listen to the entire thing, but overall I thought it was pretty good. At one of the listening parties, people were even fooled to believe that Kanye had remarried Kim Kardashian, but that was all just for show. Kanye's actual tribute to Kim would be seen months later. Around a week later, Drake released his album Certified Lover Boy. I really just remember this album's release due to Kanye and Drake beefing at the time, and Kanye going full Joker mode by releasing Drake's address online. Honestly, I'm not surprised. To cap off August, Joe Biden pulled American troops out of Afghanistan, something his predecessors were unable to do. Honestly, I was surprised that Biden actually pulled through with this. Of course, he had the establishment criticizing him, and I do believe there were valid reasons for criticism. For one, the way we pulled out was incredibly sloppy, but the way people expected us to stay behind as the Taliban took over Afghanistan once again, I'm sorry, but it's done. The fall of Kabul, it's tragic. But what's also tragic is the countless years and lives lost during America's time in Afghanistan, only for it to be for nothing and fall in under 2 weeks. It was either leave or stay there forever. On August 7th, comedian Trevor Moore passed away. He will be missed. In September, Lil Nas X's highly anticipated album Montero released, and it was pretty damn good. One of the lead singles, Industry Baby, exploded in popularity. The album featured guest appearances from artists such as Doja Cat, Megan Thee Stallion, Miley Cyrus, and even Elton John. The record was a smash hit, and a fantastic debut studio album by Nas. I can't wait for what else he has in store for the future. In September, a certain Animal Crossing character was trending for reasons, and that's it. That's all you need to know. On September 8th, Steve from Blue's Clues returned with a message for old fans. I remember being super into Blue's Clues as a small child, so this actually hit pretty close to home. Addressing fans who have now entered adulthood, the message made many emotional.
I guess I just wanted to say that after all these years, I never forgot you. Ever. And I'm super glad we're still friends.
On September 14th, Norm Macdonald passed away after a long battle with cancer. Unfortunately, it wasn't until his death when I realized just how many things he was in that I've watched. A hilarious man, he will be missed. Also on September 14th, my state of California held a gubernatorial recall election, in which Governor Gavin Newsom managed to stay in office. For a short time period, I thought the race to remove and replace him was pretty close due to the polls, but the results were virtually a landslide to keep him, with the no option reaching 61% of the vote. For a moment, people thought this spelled out good news for the Democrats, but as the Biden administration entered the fall, things would be hell for him. On September 15th, it was announced that famed Minecraft YouTuber Basherverse died from COVID complications. His career was incredibly controversial, facing scandal after scandal. The Gamer from Mars made an excellent documentary about him. I'd highly recommend checking it out because his entire presence online was just a roller coaster. By mid-September, the nation had been engrossed with the Gabby Petito case. Last seen on a road trip with her boyfriend, she was reported missing after her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, returned home without her. Evidence revealed growing tensions between Gabby and Brian, with a domestic disturbance incident being reported of the couple during their vacation. Brian fled his house after mounting evidence suggested that he did something terrible to Gabby on their trip. After human remains were discovered that of Gabby's, the manhunt for Brian took place, with even Doug the bounty hunter bound to find Brian. Brian's remains were later found, with his death ruled to be a suicide. As for Gabby Petito, her death was labeled as a homicide by strangulation. The media coverage for this case was high, leading commentators to criticize journalists for holding this missing case above that of missing people of color. Despite this, I truly feel for Petito and her entire family, and my heart goes out to any family missing a loved one. At the end of September, the Broadway musical Dear Evan Hansen was translated onto the big screen, and judging from the previews and audience reception, it sucked ass. With one of the most distracting things from the movie being Ben Platt portraying a high schooler at the age of 28. Which, to be fair, wouldn't be that bad if he, still actually looked somewhat like a high schooler. Not only that, but here it was also tonally different and completely dumped on the original musical in terms of its themes and cast. At the end of September, a South Korean show called Squid Game premiered on Netflix. What followed next was a worldwide phenomenon. The series' plot revolves around 456 contestants playing games to the death for a grand cash prize. It was pretty good. Honestly, one of my favorite breakout shows to be released this year. It has become Netflix's most watched series, and I can't wait for what Season 2 has in store. Sure, I thought the surprise twist at the end of Season 1 was like a little lame, but despite that, I'd say the show was consistent all around. I'd give it like an 8. Yeah, like an 8 out of 10. September was fine, but as we entered the last quarter of the year, things would begin to get brutal. In early October, Twitch and Facebook were hacked, leading to millions of accounts being compromised across all Facebook sites and shut down. Dude, even employees were locked out of Facebook due to the error, displaying that even the huge technical giants are prone to cyber attacks. On October 5th, Dave Chappelle's special titled The Closer premiered on Netflix. It was met with controversy from the transgender community due to Chappelle's jokes in the special, leading to a mass protest by trans activists demanding a removal of the special from the streaming service. Netflix employees even protested the special themselves, with Netflix suspending a trans employee in response. Reactions to the special have been mixed by general audiences, and to be honest, I haven't watched it, so on to the next section. Nearly 3 years since the release of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on the Nintendo Switch, the game's roster was finally complete in October when Sora was announced for Smash. Nice. As someone who's been into the Kingdom Hearts games since I was a kid, it was awesome seeing Sora shake Mario's hand in his reveal trailer. On October 8th, Metroid Dread came out. I'm a big fan of the Metroid 2D series, and playing this through for the first time was awesome. It's incredibly difficult, but that's why I love it. It's just classic Metroid brutality. My favorite game of the year, I'd highly recommend it. In October, the band Smash Mouth performed a live show in New York, in which the live singer appeared intoxicated and then proceeded to threaten audience members. After this clip was released, the singer announced he would be retiring. It's a shame because I remember seeing Smash Mouth in 2017, and they were actually pretty good. Sad to say that I'll never see All-Star live ever again. By October, The Rock had revealed to the world his amazing rapping skills.
It's about drive, it's about power. We stay hungry, we devour. Put in the work, put in the hours, and take what's ours.
Truly a legendary rapper, the likes of Eminem or even Kanye. On October 22nd, the film Dune released. I didn't watch it, but it apparently was a big deal. Well, that's my bad. On October 21st, it was announced that Alec Baldwin shot and killed a woman on the set of his new movie, with a real revolver that fired a live round. Baldwin states that he didn't fire the round and takes no responsibility in the woman's death, saying that someone is responsible for it, but not him. Jesus Christ, really? Currently, there's an ongoing criminal investigation, and new information is being brought forth as the days go on. From my perspective, it was a huge, catastrophic failure from the team to allow this to happen, and Alec Baldwin himself. On October 26th, Abelina Sabrina revealed a toxic relationship she had held onto with YouTuber Gus Johnson, revealing that while she was undergoing an ectopic pregnancy, Johnson failed to be there for her in her time of need, belittling her as a strain in his life, stating that she was exaggerating her symptoms. It was an abhorrent situation for her to be in, and thankfully she's out of it now. At the end of October, Mark Zuckerberg announced the Metaverse, a virtual world where people can socialize, work, and play. I guess this is the future. There was a 1-hour presentation in which Mark showed off this thing, and his delivery was pretty awkward. And yes, unfortunately it made me and everybody else think about that shitty 2018 movie, Ready Player One. On October 29th, iDubbbz made a video about a former foe. Ricegum had come back into the fray, demanding iDubbbz to fight him in a boxing match, to which iDubbbz replied, yeah, sure. Ricegum then continued to back out from the fight, and has been fleeing from the entire thing like a coward. Some people never really change.
The major message sent to President Biden and the Democrats.
On November 2nd, Virginia and New Jersey Democrats were facing an election that spelled out a test for the Biden administration. For months, the Biden administration had been dealing with economic woes, prone to inflation and soaring gas prices. Not only that, but those who despised Biden had formed a new chant that originated during a sports event, in which a reporter incorrectly described a "Fuck Joe Biden" chant with a "Let's Go Brandon" chant.
Brandon, you also told me, as you can hear the chants from the crowd, "Let's go, Brandon."
Their chant has become a rallying cry against Biden.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas as well. Merry
Thanks.
Christmas, and let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
The Virginia election was also a rejection of critical race theory, an idea of restructuring education and correlating how racist policies of the past have aligned with issues of the present. Republicans made the whole Virginia race about education, arguing that critical race theory teaches kids to hate America. It was this huge debate, but just know that Republicans managed to successfully grasp onto anti-critical race theory fears and win an election. By the end of the year, Biden's poll numbers were lagging into the unfavorable. The election spelled doom for the Democrats heading into the 2022 midterms, with Virginia Republicans gaining back the governor's mansion, and the New Jersey election being closer than expected. As we begin to head into year 2 of the Biden administration, it's do or die when it comes to the fate of the Senate and House. If things don't change, I predict the Republicans will win majorities in Congress come this time next year. I mean, sure, Biden was able to tout a once-in-a-generation $1 trillion infrastructure bill in November, but the bleeding is still being felt by many Americans with their pocketbooks. And with senators like Joe Manchin halting and forcing Democrats to water down big spending bills, it's become difficult for Biden to achieve major legislative victories. On November 5th, Eternals came out in theaters. Me and YouTuber Glink had gone to see Clifford in November, and we realized we didn't care too much for Clifford, so we ended up walking in to see Eternals just in time for the first Marvel sex scene. And somehow Clifford was more entertaining than this movie. On November 6th, the show Arcane came out, based off of the game League of Legends. I don't play League, but from what I've seen from the show, I'm very impressed by it. Its art style is amazing, and soundtrack is pretty good too. I still need to finish it, but don't spoil it, please. On the evening of November 5th, Travis Scott held his annual Astroworld Festival in Houston, Texas. During the chaos of the concert, 8 people were crushed and killed, with at least 2 more dying from their injuries following the event, with ambulances trying to make it through the crowd. Scott proceeded to do the show, making it harder for medical professionals to get to people. Scott would later apologize to concertgoers via a short statement. To me, this statement lacked any genuineness, and after reading the stories of what happened that night, the entire thing was just terrible. On November 12th, Taylor Swift released a re-recording of her 2012 classic, Red, alongside a short film titled All Too Well. All Too Well is impressive, a story about falling in love, and eventually having a relationship grow into one of gaslighting and lies. It's incredibly realistic to what many have suffered through. The All Too Well remix re-recording off the new record is angrier than its original, with no restraint whatsoever looking back at a toxic relationship, with a drastic power imbalance between 2 lovers. For those who have ever been in this situation, I hope you're doing better. Speaking of relationships, Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian. What the hell? How does this guy get around so much? Jesus, Kanye's going to really feel this one. By mid-November, the remix for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out, and they were, I would say, decent, but pretty underwhelming for the most part. It just feels like a step backwards, with various features that were introduced in Pokemon Platinum being gone in the remix. I did not really care for them all too much. Speaking of games, Halo Infinite came out, which I heard was actually pretty good. Thank God, because when it comes to Halo, I know that the recent titles haven't been so stellar. On November 17th, YouTube announced that they were going to get rid of dislikes from being viewed on the website, a move that many, including me, thought was really stupid. YouTube's reasoning was to counter targeted harassment, but like, dude, the comments still exist. How is this going to change anything whatsoever when it comes to someone hating a video? It's just so dumb and unnecessary. After countless weeks of media coverage, Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted of all charges on November 19th. This stemmed last year when he traveled to Kenosha, Wisconsin during a civil unrest, and fatally shot 2 men and wounded another. The whole entire aftermath of his acquittal has been pretty ridiculous. There are those on the right who have been treating him as this like rock star of some sorts. Like, what the hell? Like his presentation at America Fest? Like, what's going on here? Oh well, the best thing to come out of this trial was a mukbang meme of him. So Encanto came out this month, and I gotta tell you, it was one of the best Disney movies I've seen in a long time. It's a fantastic musical, there's a lot of great songs from it, so much so that my favorite song from the track list, We Don't Talk About Bruno, has become a TikTok trend. I'd highly recommend watching this movie, it's fantastic. 2021 was a busy year for Mr. Beast. After intense demand, Mr. Beast released his most popular video yet, Squid Game in Real Life, which currently has an insane 182 million views at the time of writing this. This has never been done in the history of YouTube. It shows how far the website has come, and shows what creators can exactly be capable of with enough aspiration, and of course, enough money. By the end of November, famous influencers Nicole and Edward had announced a separation. God, another breakup? What the hell is going on? This one had Nicole explaining that Edward was a groomer and an abuser, with Edward beginning to speak to her when she was 17 and he was 23. Edward would later deny these allegations. Originally wishing to keep this matter private, the entire thing exploded on social media, showing that the relationship was deeply troubled. On November 30th, another shooting occurred at Oxford High School in Michigan, leading to the deaths of 4. The parents of the perpetrator failed to secure the handgun used in the shooting, leading to the parents to flee arrest. The parents were subject to a manhunt and were eventually caught. Let me just say, you guys are utter failures as just not parents, but as human beings as well. As November ended, the world turned its eyes on the final month of the year. 2021 was finally drawing to a close. At the beginning of December, Spotify Wrapped came out. Would you believe that I would see 4 out of the 5 of these artists live and in concert within the time span of a week? I'm still trying to recover from that. Sorry, just bragging. I would really recommend Glass Animals, by the way. I've been listening to them for years, but this year in particular, I've had them on loop. To cap off Kanye West's wild year, he squashed the beef with Drake and held a concert in Los Angeles in a rallying cry to free Larry Hoover, a gang leader who was incarcerated back in 1973, who has sworn that he's changed. I went to the concert, tickets were fucking expensive, so I didn't get fantastic seats, but it was still pretty cool. I mention this because during his set list, Kanye West performed the song Runaway, and in the outro for the song, he changed up the lyrics, wishing for Kim Kardashian to return back home to him. Interestingly enough, Kanye West has also bought a home right next to Kim Kardashian's new home with Pete Davidson. I know Kanye West has kids and he likely bought it just to be next to his kids, but seeing that as a headline made me think about The Great Gatsby for a second. So at the beginning of December, a new show titled The Red Ape Family came out, and holy shit, it sucked so bad. The show is based off of the Bored Ape NFT craze, which I've talked about so many times on this channel, and if you want to know what NFTs are, let me explain it one more time. NFTs are stupid digital files stored online worth up to thousands and millions of dollars to purchase. I've been stalling mentioning them this entire video, but I have to because it wouldn't be 2021 without them. We'll see what happens to them in the coming years, but I think, and this is unfortunate, I don't think they're going to go away. In December, TikTok was obsessed with this dude's love for Joe Biden. Excuse me, I meant to say Byron.
What do you want to tell Joe Biden right now?
What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner.
Hey, yo! This is the Kim and Kanye of Coney Island.
Hey, Kim ain't got shit on me.
On December 4th, Andrew Cuomo's brother, Chris Cuomo, was fired by CNN after assisting his brother over his sexual allegations, breaking CNN rules. The downfall of the Cuomo brothers was insane. 2014 came back in a big way with the new Five Nights at Freddy's game. Markiplier's been playing through it, which definitely takes me back to a simpler time. In a funny way, it's a little nostalgic and touching to me. Yeah, I'm getting a little emotional over Five Nights at Freddy's, can you blame me? On December 10th, Western Kentucky experienced a violent tornado, resulting in 58 deaths. The destruction was immeasurable, and one of the deadliest tornadoes ever. With recovery efforts still being made, I hope Western Kentucky is able to rebuild and stand stronger together once again. By the end of the year, Hassan Piker had become one of the biggest Twitch streamers on the website. In a notable incident, Hassan decided to use a slur against white people, to which Twitch then proceeded to ban him for a week. Whether or not the word should be a bannable offense propelled much discussion and debate that infiltrated its way on my Twitter timeline. Seriously, it was like on there for like a week. On December 17th, Spider-Man No Way Home came out, and I had a lot of fun watching it. I'll spare the 1% of you who haven't watched it yet from spoilers, but let me just say that the movie gave me smile after smile. It actually made me feel hard for Tom Holland's Peter Parker, really for the first time. Definitely one of my favorite movies from the MCU, and I'm actually curious what they're gonna do next with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. At the end of December, YouTuber Mama Max invited many YouTubers, including yours truly, to participate in a video to criticize YouTube's video takedown system. The movement blew up, trending number 3 at its height on Twitter, and it was met with mixed responses. Its main objective was to keep up videos that expose pedophiles. However, there have been those who have criticized Max for forcing others not involved in the movement to speak up and pick a side. Not only that, but others have also criticized the formatting of the video. On December 29th, Ghislaine Maxwell, also known as Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman, was found guilty for her sex trafficking crimes. She must now cooperate with investigators regarding what she knows. Although Epstein managed to get away with it, let us hope that Maxwell at least gets to see prison for the countless lives she's ruined. Not only that, but for those who are in cahoots with Maxwell and Epstein, no matter how powerful they are, I hope they get rightfully punished as well. Those sick bastards. In December, tensions between NATO and Putin were at their highest, with NATO threatening major consequences if Putin were to invade Ukraine, and Putin replying that Russia has nowhere to retreat when it comes to Ukraine. Vladimir won't back down, and neither will NATO. I don't know what's gonna happen next, but unfortunately, I'm fearful of the worst. And the worst is still yet to come.
Nearly 500,000 new COVID-19 cases were recorded in the U.S. Wednesday. That number from the CDC is the highest single-day tally since the start of the pandemic.
15 states are averaging more daily cases than ever. Nationwide, COVID cases are rising so fast, it's estimated more than 3 Americans are testing positive every second.
It's easier said than done.
By the end of December, another infectious variant of COVID had caught the eyes of the world. Known as Omicron, the disease is spreading at a rapid rate and has been infecting hundreds of thousands. Overseas, restaurants, places of worship, and entertainment have been locking down again. And even around me, schools are closing down again, and I just can't do this anymore.
Let me know. Do I still got time to grow?
I'm sorry, I've just had a hard year. The hardest year I've ever had in my lifetime. And, sometimes I feel as if I shouldn't be complaining, I have friends saying, "Oh Larry, I wish I was in your shoes. Oh Larry, congratulations on all your success this year." And I'm thankful for that, I really am, but it's just been a lot to take in. A lot of change happening too fast. And this isn't even about YouTube at this point. This is beyond that. It's about what's been going on in my life as well. It's about looking back at where I was a year ago, the people I was with, the circumstances I was in. And it's my own fault for retrospecting so much, for looking back at the past too much, for looking at mistakes I've made and being unable to forgive myself for them.
Life's just not fair. Seems like street.
I feel as if I'm unable to move on, and I should feel bad for that. And that's what's really stopping me from reaching my full potential. I'm just trapped in the past. While everyone else is moving on, I just feel as if I'm gonna be left behind, and I'll feel as if I'll never leave this bleak mindset.
I'm just not there. Life's just not fair. Life's just not fair.
At the beginning of the year, my friend Jared from Florida, he had called me up saying that he had just seen a psychic. The psychic told Jared that their friend Larry was going to have a very painful year. I never really believed in that stuff, and to this day I'm still unsure about it. I thought it was strange that the psychic was able to successfully guess my name correctly, but besides that I didn't really think much of it. As the year went on and incident after incident continued to occur to me, I kept thinking about what that psychic said. So much so that when I traveled to Florida in December, I had to see what this psychic was all about. There I was at the end of the year, trying my best to understand what this psychic had allegedly prophesized. Although I didn't 100% believe it, I wanted to see what this psychic would say about my future. I called her up and asked for an appointment, to which she agreed. As I was preparing for that appointment, Plans had made it for the appointment to fall through, meaning that I wasn't going to be able to see her during my time in Florida. I was disappointed, but I started thinking to myself, I had gotten so wrapped up on what this psychic was going to say that I hadn't really spent much time to figure out what I was going to do after this meeting. Was I going to be comforted with the idea that my future had already been predicted? Of course not. I don't need anyone to tell me where I'm going. Judging from what I've done in the past, judging from who I am now, I have a pretty good idea of where I'm headed next. And I know for a fact, wherever I go, I'm gonna be okay. I often see people say that it's weird that we often rely on the new year to better ourselves, rather than, just doing it. And it is weird, isn't it? We rely on the social construct to dictate some sort of renewal. For example, like, oh, I'm gonna lose weight this year. Oh, this is gonna be the year I get that job. Oh, this is gonna be the year I get that car I've always wanted. Oh, this is gonna be the year I ask out that person I really like. People often say, just do it, don't wait. And although I would agree to that sentiment, we are human after all. For many of us, we're afraid of the unordinary, which means we're afraid of change. The new year is beautiful in that way. It forces us to change. Not only that, but it forces us to look back at the past chapter of our lives. What have you done this past year? I'll ask myself that same question. What have I done this year? To some, this was their last year of doing, or in a more sophisticated sense, this was the last of Earth for them. They aren't around to look back at the past year anymore. But how about we do something for them? How about we take a second to look at what they've done? Because honestly, I don't know about you, it inspires me to get up and do much more in the new year.
They touched us in so many ways. Their talents, their deeds, their special gifts. Time for our look back at those who left us in the year gone by. We say hail and farewell.
In August, I traveled to Florida to meet up with longtime online friends for the first time, whom I had known for 6 years. Meeting them was the highlight of my year. In a year in which I lost a lot, I realized that happiness goes on. Being with them, laughing with them, embracing them, it's a feeling like no other. And saying goodbye, that was the hardest part of it all. In October, I went to VidCon and I met so many creators and created so many new friends that it reignited my passion to create, and I am now more determined than ever to create a name for myself. I truly believe with all the passion and stride in me, I will create and do something bigger than myself. I have seen my friends and family this year in times of joy and sorrow, and they themselves have witnessed me change to the person I am today. I am not who I was on January 1st of this year, and that's good. Throughout it all, I am a better person who will only continue to learn through all of my mistakes. 2021 was not 2020. For the first time, many looked around at the events of the world and asserted that 2021 was better than its predecessor. Finally, some good news for once. At the beginning, I told you all that I felt at odds with how I was supposed to feel about everything. But throughout this entire year, I've looked inwardly and realized that I must stay optimistic. I'm heading towards somewhere, and I know not everything is forever, and I know that the future is unwritten. As I'm writing this, I realize that I'm hopeful for not only my future, but the future for my friends, family, and those who are formerly in my life. I'm thankful for the past. I'm thankful for what I have right now, and I'm thankful for wherever I'm going. 2021 has created a clearer map of where the rest of the decade is headed towards. Whether that be good or bad, that's up to you. I, for one, would like to see comfort in a brighter tomorrow, and I would like to ask you to have faith in your fellow man and woman. Throughout the video, I've told you about my worries and fears, but I realize that I've been failing to mention one thing, something so important to me. You. Maybe cheesy to say, but you are the reason there's a Zeepster, and I mean that full-heartedly. You have helped me get through this year and continued my passion for creating. This year, I started out with the goal in reaching 20,000 subscribers by the end of 2021. You guys have gone ahead and blown me away, helping me reach nearly 50,000 subscribers. I promise you this one thing. In the new year, we're going to go even bigger. I will never forget what you guys did for me in 2021. You have kept my spirit alive. I say this every year, but I truly mean it at this moment. To my family, friends, to all those who have stayed and supported me in my endeavors, and to my loyal audience, I love you with every fiber in my being. I'm eyeing next year. By the time we reach December 31st, 2022, I know me and everyone I love will be in a better place. Wherever we end up, it'll be where dreams are made of. For the last time in 2021, I've been Larry. You all have a fantastic 2022 now. Happy New Year, everyone. Let's make it a good one.